It was a very difficult task to plot a coup against General Ibrahim Babangida's regime because of his ubiquitous and omnipresent intelligence agencies. In this video, we will explain the third Gideon Orka coup of April 22, 1990. We will answer the questions: was it really a Gideon Orka coup? Who were the core initiators and planners of the coup? And what was their motivation? Why did the coup fail? And lastly, we will look at the trial and execution of Gideon Orka and others. Hello Hisplers, welcome to another history video on Hisple Media. Remember to smash the like button on this video, it will help us a great deal. In the night preceding the coup, the Inspector General of Police, Alhaji Muhammad Gambo, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Abdul Kader Ahmed, had visited the president. According to Babangida, they were in company of another prominent Nigerian. Shortly after the guests had left Babangida's home, his wife, Miriam, looked through the window and noticed unusual movement of troops outside. She walked over to her husband, who was watching television, and informed him that something was happening outside that may require his urgent attention. Ordinarily, there would have been no cause for alarm, since the president's residence at Dodan Barracks was guarded by over 300 soldiers assembled from various units such as infantry, artillery, armored corps, signals, and the medical. Soldiers from the 26th Guard Battalion under the command of Gandhi Tola Zidon, the 123rd Guard Battalion commanded by John Madaki, and the 242nd Reconnaissance Battalion and the Guards Garrison provide security for Dodan Barracks, the Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria FRCN, and the State House, Ribadu Road. On sighting the unusual troops' movements outside, Babangida sent his ADC, Colonel UK Bello, outside to find out what was happening. But that was the last time he saw Bello alive. Babangida was in radio contact with Bello for a short while, but when Bello got outside, he was shot dead by mutinous soldiers. Zainab, the wife of UK Bello, was arrested by the mutineers in a separate attack and taken to the FRCN till she was later rescued by soldiers loyal to the regime. Soon after, the living quarters of the president came under heavy gunfire as the mutineers attempted to arrest or kill the president. At this time, it was clear to the president that a coup was underway. If you enjoyed this video up to this point, please like it and subscribe to our channel. Remember to enable notification also so you will not miss any of our future updates. Thank you. The key arrowheads of the coup were Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Yam, a member of the Corps of Army Engineers; Major Saliba Mukoro, a member of the military police with a PhD in criminology; Major Cyril Abaho of the Army Signals; Captain Hale Impere, and Captain Sowaribi Tolofari, both of the military police. Major Mukoro was the prime mover of the coup. He himself had never denied this. His role as military assistant to the Director of Army Staff Duties and Plans gave him a wider view of happenings at Army headquarters. Contrary to popular belief, the April 1990 coup was the third, not the second coup against Babangida's regime. To ensure that the plot remained a secret, the plotters kept their circle very small. Participation was limited to officers from the southern states of Cross River, Bendel, and Rivers State. The only three exceptions were Orka, Obasi, and Echendu. The involvement of these three officers was particularly due to their strategic position. Their cooperation was therefore essential if the coup must succeed. Since no coup in Nigeria had ever succeeded without the participation of soldiers from armored corps, the plotters seemed to appreciate the importance of securing the support and involvement of the armored corps personnel. This convinced the plotters to recruit Major Gideon Orka, a 38-year-old officer of Tiv ethnicity in Benue State. Even though the coup came to be known as the Orka coup, Major Gideon Orka was neither the originator nor one of the core planners of the coup. Orka was a late recruit. For 6 years, he had been the commanding officer of Saki Armored Barracks in Oyo State and had just been posted to the Command and Staff College in Jaji as Directing Staff Officer. A major difficulty for the plotters was that most of them held staff appointments or were members of military police. Because of this, they had no troops to command. Their major task was to source fighting forces from elsewhere. To achieve this without attracting the attention of security intelligence, they recruited fighting men from outside the established military channels. They also used civilian vehicles and ex-servicemen recruited under the guise of a security company started by one of them. The tactical headquarters for the coup was the premises of a company named Great Nigeria Limited, located in Owotu area of Ikorodu in Lagos. The company was owned by Chief Great Ogboro of Urobo ethnicity in the south. Great was a friend and former schoolmate of Major Mukuru. After the coup plotters suspected that their plot had leaked, the coup was brought forward with only about 18 hours notice. Any further delay was extremely dangerous. As a result, they were faced with a difficult possibility of overthrowing the most security-conscious regime in Nigeria's history in haste. Several soldiers, including Major Obaho, Captains Tolofari, Dakolo, and Idele, Lieutenant Ode and Akogun, and others raided the armory of Mile 2 Signals Barracks to obtain weapons and ammunition with which to execute the coup. On April 22, 1990, at about 2 a.m., the mutineers swung into action. They were transported to their target location using civilian vehicles belonging to Ogboro's company, such as J5 buses and Peugeot 504 station wagons. The plotters targeted the 9th Mechanized Infantry Brigade and Ojo Cantonment in Lagos without employing large number of regular soldiers, hoping that the commanders of both units would wait on the fence until the plotters were successful. The major target areas in the attack were Dodan Barracks. Attack was to be led by Lieutenant Echendu. Ikeja Cantonment attack were to be led by Major Mukoro, Captains Dakolo and Impere, and Lieutenant Ahere and Obasi. The Ojo Cantonment attack was to be led by Captain Tolofari. The Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria's attack was to be led by Lieutenant Emmanuel Okeku Matalo. Lieutenant Colonel Iyam was to take the Giwa project and provide reinforcement for the attacking forces at FRCN and Dodan Barracks. 4 arrest squad led by Lieutenant H.A. Ogburu, Mohammed Gohe, Nicholas Ode, and Awokoya Akogun, Major Obaho was to rupture the communication of 2nd Mechanized Infantry Division headquarters at Ibadan by disrupting their radio communication system. Lieutenant Emmanuel Okeku Matalo was instructed to facilitate the entry of a group of mutineers led by Major Orka to broadcast a pre-recorded speech. The speech announcing the coup and overthrow of Ibrahim Babangida's regime. Okeku Matalo was a duty officer at the FRCN. At about 4 a.m., the FRCN technician Isaac Olayemi was ordered to interrupt normal radio programming with martial music and broadcast the coup speech. The speech finally came on air at about 5:25 a.m. The Armed Forces Ruling Council was dissolved and replaced with the National Ruling Council. The membership of the new arrangement was to include a civilian vice head of state and 1 representative each from Nigerian Labour Congress, the Nigerian Union of Journalists, the Nigerian Bar Association, and the National Association of Nigerian Students. According to Major Orka, this was a well-conceived, planned and executed revolution for the marginalized and the oppressed people of the South and the Middle Belt. Orka accused Babangida of planning to install himself as life president of Nigeria. The dishonorable treatment of the longest-serving Nigerian general, General Domkat Bali, and the disgraceful and inexplicable removal of Commodore Ibitu Okiwe, Professor Tam David West, Mr. Arrett Adams, and many others from office were some of their key points of grief. Orka complained of the not controlling resources and wealth created in the South. This was the precursor for resource control agitation that would later be the basis for the Niger Delta struggle. The most remarkably controversial announcement was the decision to excise the far northern state of Bauchi, Borno, Katsina, Kano, and Sokoto from Nigeria. Their concern here was the controversy surrounding the appointment of the Sultan of Sokoto. Alhaji Masido must be appointed as Sultan before those states will be reconsidered back to Nigeria. The speech, as usual, announced a curfew, the closure of all borders, and ordered all police and military personnel to remain in their barracks. The officers in charge of armored personnel at Dodan Barracks was Lieutenant Echendu. While Echendu sent some soldiers to the FRCN headquarters at Ikoyi, himself undertook the task of attacking Dodan Barracks using a combination of the fighting men brought from Ogboro's warehouse and troops under his command. He had already briefed his men earlier that day about the coup. Echendu was instructed to blow the place, and he did. The mutineer heavily shelled Babangida's presidential complex and bedroom. Babangida escaped by the whiskers. They nearly killed him. The roof of his living quarters was blown off, but there was a fierce gun battle between Babangida's guards and Echendu's men. Captain Idele was tasked with providing reinforcements for Echendu after his mission had been completed, but Idele never made it to Echendu. He was shot dead at Boni Camp. Babangida and his family were smuggled out of Dodan Barracks through a secret tunnel to a safe house in Surulere, but the escape routes and the safe house have never been revealed by anyone to this day. His initial suspicion was that Abacha was behind the coup. Hence, he refused to disclose his hiding place when he first spoke with Abacha on radio. Major Saliba Mukoro led the attacks on army cantonment at Ojo and Ikeja. While the attacks were ongoing, Colonel Leo Ajeborisha of the Signal Corps headquarters and Colonel Odaro, commander of the Signal Corps Brigade at Mile 2 Signal Barracks, were arrested in their homes in Apapa by Major Odoja. Major Mohammed Said, commanding officer, Army Headquarters Provost Battalion, and his adjutant, Captain G.A. Wahab, were also arrested by the mutineers. Huge gun battles erupted between the mutineers and loyalist soldiers at Ojo Cantonment, Ikeja Cantonment, and Boni Camp. The mutineers succeeded at Ojo Cantonment and arrested its commander. At Boni Camp, the duty officer's suspicion was aroused when a soldier approached him during the day, requesting for arms for increased patrol. Arising from this suspicion, the officer stationed himself in the guard's room instead of the mess he was supposed to be. The mutineers arrived at Boni Camp hoping to secure armory and battle tanks. This proved impossible after a fierce battle between the mutineers and loyal forces. At Ikeja Cantonment, they managed to obtain light armored vehicles such as Scorpions and Saladins. However, these were no match for the heavier caliber tanks used by loyalist troops to counter the coup. Lieutenant General Sani Abacha became a pivotal figure and played a key role in aborting the coup. The officer in charge of his security detail, Second Lieutenant Omukoro, was recruited by the mutineers to monitor his movements and reports accordingly. Abacha was not at his official residence at Flagstaff House. He was instead seeing a friend at nearby guest house. The plotters shot up the house in search for him but could not find him. He was hiding behind a paneled wall in a bedroom. After the mutineers had left, Abacha sent for more security before leaving for Flagstaff House. Here, he rendezvoused with Babangida and other key officers. Abacha started phoning key military installations and calling for support and counterattacks. The fact that the mutineers left communication networks on was a major setback. Another critical setback was that the coup was localized in Lagos. No other military installations outside Lagos were attacked. As the coup plotters were monitoring communication between loyal units, they overheard Abacha giving orders to troops loyal to the regime. Abacha had contacted Lieutenant Colonels G.G. Gideon, Ahmed Abdullahi, commander of the Signal Corps, Dada Okpenwen, Provost Marshal, Colonel Raji Razaki, and Colonel Ishaya Bameyi. On realizing that Abacha was still alive, many soldiers swung into action immediately. Lieutenant Colonel G.G. Zidon mobilized loyal troops in company of Colonel Chris Garuba and Colonel Ahmed Abdullahi for a counter-offensive. The troops were ordered to destroy the FRCN building if that was necessary to dislodge the mutineers. Colonel Ishaya Bameyi, commander of the 9th Mechanized Brigade, also led an offensive against the mutineers. At last, after running out of ammunition, about 200 of the mutineers surrendered after nearly 12 hours of fighting. At about 11:57 a.m. on April 22, 1990, Lieutenant Colonel G.T. Zidon made a broadcast announcing that the coup had been suppressed. This was followed by Lieutenant General Sani Abacha's concise broadcast amplifying the failure of the coup and condemning the mutineers. He called the mutineers a national security nuisance. In the aftermath of the coup, it appears there was competition to show the most overt loyalty to Babangida's regime. Traditional leaders, clergymen, politicians and prominent Nigerians paid solidarity visits to Babangida. They condemned the coup and pledged support for the regime. British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher and French President François Mitterrand was among the foreign leaders who sent solidarity messages. Babangida appointed a special investigation panel headed by Brigadier Rufus Coup Plot to investigate and interrogate suspects. Coup Plot was the Quartermaster General of the Army and was a member of the military tribunal that sentenced Major General Mamman Vasa and others to death in 1986. Tanko Ayuba was another member of the panel. The federal military government arrested 863 suspects, including hundreds of serving and retired military personnel, civilians and journalists. Even though the federal military government put a bounty of between 150,000 to 500,000 for anyone with information that could lead to their arrest, the core planners of the coup hid in safe houses before fleeing the country. When unable to arrest genuine suspects, the security forces arrested their relatives, wives and girlfriends. There was a clampdown on politicians, journalists and their news agencies, as well as students who appeared to celebrate the coup. One of the major factors that motivated the coup was the marginalization of the Niger Deltans in the government, as well as the clamor for resource control. The mutineers gave several instances of government marginalization and abuse of the Niger Delta and its people. These included the poverty in the Niger Delta, despite producing Nigeria's wealth through oil, the absence of Niger Deltans in the government and senior echelons of the military, Niger Deltans' inability to make decisions about the control and management of resources extracted from their land, and out of the 4 military governors sent to govern Rivers State, none was an indigent of the state. In addition, only 2 military officers, Larry Koinyan and Promise Fingesi, were from the Niger Delta. After the coup, the federal military government made no effort to address these grievances. They simply dismissed the coup as a misguided act of a lunatic French. This would later prove costly for the country. Other grievances advanced at the time were favoritism, economic dominance of northerners, and imbalance in promotion of officers, among others. 3 crucial mistakes were responsible for the failure of the coup. The mutineers failed to neutralize or kill the military high command of the federal military government. None of the service chiefs were at their official residence at the time of the coup. Vice Admiral Aikomo was away from home attending a boat party. Therefore, the entire top echelon of the federal military government escaped alive. Another crucial error was that the mutineers failed to cut communication links. Telephone lines were working, and the Muritala Muhammad Airport in Lagos and other strategic points were also left unguarded. Another key mistake was the decision of the plotters to naively excise 5 far northern states from Nigeria. The decision was extreme and could prove costly. The mutineers would have at least waited for the coup sources before making such announcements. The decision dissipated any support or sympathy that may have come from those states and even the entire north. Interestingly, the soldiers most prominent in resisting the coup were from the excised states. Lieutenant General Sani Abacha and Colonel Ishaya Bameyi were from Kano and the then Sokoto states, respectively. Vice Admiral Aikomo, the Chief of General Staff, issued a national broadcast on July 27, 1990, calling the April 1990 coup as Nigeria's bloodiest coup. The official body count from this coup was put at 19. Going by this number, the coup cannot be considered the bloodiest coup in Nigeria's history. That dubious honor is still held by the July 1966 counter-coup led by northern officers, which claimed over 200 victims. One issue that deserves further probe is the official number of those arrested, released, jailed, and or executed. According to Aikomu, a total of 863 suspects were arrested in connection with the coup's investigation. Out of this number, 764 were discharged and acquitted. 42 were sentenced to death, 9 were jailed, and 31 retried. 17 suspects have not been accounted for till today. What happened to them? On May 21, 1990, Colonel Anthony Ukpo announced the commencement of trial of about 82 suspects following investigations by the Special Investigation Panel. The suspects were tried by the Special Military Tribunal (SMT), created under the Treason and Other Offences Special Military Tribunal Decree. This tribunal was headed by Major General Ike Nwachukwu. The trial took place at the Brigade of Guards headquarters on Kofoa Bayomi Street in Lagos. The Adjutant General, Major General Muhammad Balarabe Haladu, briefed the trial counsel and urged them to go back and revise their legal knowledge. Thereafter, the Special Military Tribunal sat in secret, even though its proceedings were filmed. The trial was a mixture of military court-martial and a secret political trial. No defendant was permitted to appoint civilian lawyers to defend them. They were instead allocated a pool of army defense lawyers led by Akin Kejawa. The trials ended on Wednesday, July 18, 1990. The Special Military Tribunal sentenced 42 defendants to death by firing squad, jailed 9 and released 31. The Armed Forces Ruling Council considered the verdict on July 26, 1990. The death sentences were confirmed and the condemned men were executed by firing squad on Sunday, July 27, 1990. However, while the convicts were about to be executed, they claimed that some of the released suspects were active participants in the coup. This led the Armed Forces Ruling Council to order the retrial of 31 suspects freed by Nwachukwu's Special Military Tribunal. Consequently, 31 acquitted suspects were retried along with 7 new defendants by a new Special Military Tribunal headed by Major General Yohana Yerima Kure. 27 of them were sentenced to death at the retrial and executed by a firing squad on Thursday, September 13, 1990. 8 defendants were also jailed. In total, 69 people were executed and 17 were jailed. It appears that the key plotters had made plans to escape should the plot fail. Among those that were tried and subsequently executed, only Captain Nkpere was among the core planners of the coup. The initiators and planners of the coup, such as Ogboro, Mukoro, Inyam, and Tolofari, all escaped and lived after. It has been alleged in some quarters that the C-130 plane crash of 1992 has its root from this coup. We will leave that story for another day. Watch this video here to know more about the regime and assassination of Murtala Mohammed, or here for the trial and execution of Dimka and others. Remember to like this video and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you very much for watching.